So last month I was complaining a lot about that first promotional teaser for Percy Jackson season 3. And now I can no longer complain because we got a proper first trailer that's almost 2 minutes. I wanted to watch this trailer live, but when it came out, I couldn't film myself and I was too impatient to wait until I could. So here we are, and I already watched this trailer maybe like 10 times. So usually when I film my videos, I prepare some notes or script or something like that, but this time I have nothing. I'm empty-handed. I just wanted to sit down and make a very chill breakdown of this trailer because you know what? Season 3 is going to be not chill. So I thought that we need as much chill as we can get before season 3 comes out. By the way, this time I will not hold back with the spoilers, so if you haven't read the books, this video is probably not for you unless you are someone who likes to actively seek out spoilers. But I do have a couple of spoiler-free videos on my channel, so you can watch them instead. I should also probably warn you that I will most likely mention a couple of things from Heroes of Olympus and Trials of Apollo, but they will be pretty minor things. Okay, so let me move to the side to make a little bit more room for screenshots, and let's begin. So the trailer opens in the junkyard of the gods, which is very fitting, but what I want to talk about is actually the second shot, which is from the camp of the Oracle. By the way, there's currently some kind of construction work happening outside, so if you hear weird noises, there's nothing I can do about that. Anyway, this is the first time the Oracle left her attic, and in the books it happened during the Capture the Flag, but in this trailer we can see that she's standing in the cabin's place, so I think that the show might be removing that Capture the Flag scene, and honestly, I'm not mad about that. If there's one scene in the books that could be removed without losing absolutely anything, then it's definitely Capture the Flag. Like, the only thing that scene did was establishing the dynamic between Percy and Thalia and having them fight and showing how powerful and scary these two can be. But there's a million other opportunities when you can show these exact same things in the show without wasting time on a meaningless Capture the Flag game. One thing I can agree with is that it would be shame to lose another camp-wide activity, because in the show, Camp Half-Blood already doesn't feel like home at all because we spend so little time there. But if we look at this specific scene of Capture the Flag, then it wouldn't even help if it was included. So I think I'm not mad that they're removing it, if they are removing it. The next shot is from the Olympus, and I absolutely adore how this looks. Probably my favorite stylistic choice is the fact that they are all wearing white. Well, not fully white, but like light gray, light cream, champagne color, stuff like that. But for the sake of simplicity, let's call it white. I know that in the book they were wearing different clothes, different colors. For example, Poseidon, if I remember correctly, was wearing a Hawaiian shirt and shorts, and it's a very fun imagery when you're reading the books, but TV show is a visual medium, so you need to create a visual balance, and I love that the show is doing exactly that. From this screenshot alone, you can feel the power and the divinity, if that's a word, radiating from these gods. We also know that all the Olympians should be gathered in this scene, even if we only see 3 of them right now. And one thing I really need the show to do is making Hades still wear black instead of white. So one superficial reason is that Hades is literally different from the other gods. For example, he doesn't live in the Olympus, and instead he lives in the underworld. But more importantly, season 3 will focus a lot on the children of Hades, so it would make sense to separate Hades from the other gods visually. I feel like once we get the reveal that Nico is a son of Hades at the end of the season, it will make so much sense why Hades was separated from the other gods visually. Also, by the time this whole meeting is happening, Bianca is already dead, so it makes sense that Hades is mourning her and wearing black. And I know that the traditions might be different in ancient Greece, but for the modern viewer, I think that visual symbolism will work. Next is the shot of Atlas holding the sky, and the fact that they filmed this makes me believe that we will probably see the moment of Luke taking the sky from Atlas. The next shot is our group in the Air and the Space Museum, or whatever it's called, and can we talk about how good they look? I especially love the design of the Hunter uniform, and it wasn't shown in the trailer, but there was a promotional photo released maybe a month ago, and I love how they are not identical. Every Hunter has a customized uniform. So, for example, the length of jackets is different. They all have different elements, different details. And I feel like if all the uniforms were identical, it would look too uncanny. But right now, I really adore how the design looks. Next, we see Percy probably looking for Annabeth or maybe Nico and Bianca in the Westover Hall. And not much to say about this shot, but I think it looks good. Next, we get a very interesting shot of the camp, and I love that we finally get to see how the border protects the camp not only from the monsters, but also from bad weather. This was something I really missed in season 1, because in the first book, in The Lightning Thief, it was just such a powerful scene when it was established that it never rains in the camp unless they want it to rain. It never snows in the camp, and then we get a scene where it starts raining and the campers are so confused. They are not even hiding from the rain. They're just staring at the sky in disbelief. And then after that, everyone starts hating Percy, and it becomes like another push for him to finally go on that quest. So it was a scene that I really missed in season 1, so I'm happy that at least season 3 is finally including this, in my opinion, really cool world building detail. One thing that confuses me is that I don't understand when this specific shot takes place, because we can see 4 people in Camp Half-Blood t-shirts, we can see a few hunters behind them, and in the front, that's probably, if I had to guess, Thalia. So technically it could be when they are returning from the mission in Westover Hall, but I don't understand why they would already be wearing the camp t-shirts. Maybe if they keep the scene of Apollo driving them, then maybe they changed in the car or something like that. After that, we get one of the most heartbreaking shots in the entire trailer, and it's Nico and Percy talking in the field. I think everyone noticed how similar this shot is to season 1 when it was Luke showing Percy, little Percy, around. And this parallel becomes even more heartbreaking when you know that at the end of season 3, Percy and Nico will have a falling out, just like Percy and Luke had a falling out at the end of season 1. And sure, the circumstances are different. Luke straight up betrayed Percy, while Percy kind of didn't do anything. It's just that Nico blames him for failing to protect his sister, but still, it's a painful parallel. Also, every time I see Nico's actor on screen, I feel unwell. It's what young people say nowadays. He's 3 apples tall, 3 cupcakes tall. It's ridiculous. But moving on, the next shot is a tease of the dam scene, because we can see a couple of boats in the river, and we know this happens when they go to the dam. Next, we see a couple of shots of Percy, Annabeth, and Thorin, and what I want to talk about is actually the voiceover, where Aphrodite is talking how love can start wars and it can also end them. I know that this trailer heavily focuses on Percy and Annabeth, but I think it's important to remember that season 3 will show more types of love than just romantic. For example, we have familial love between Nico and Bianca, and when Nico loses Bianca, he is so angry precisely because he loves her. that it kind of starts a mini war between him and Percy. We also have the love of found family, the love of sisterhood in the Hunters. We have the love of Artemis and Zoe, and it also ends a conflict, even if it happens at a very big cost. I think this season might even explore the love between Luke and Thalia, because if you read the books and especially the separate side stories that were released, then it was heavily implied that they may have had feelings for each other, so I wouldn't be surprised if season 3 also hints at that. Anyway, there are plenty of other examples that you can find, but what I'm trying to say is that I think that it was a great choice to have this trailer center around the theme of love. Going back to the visuals, we get a shot of the Nemean lion, and I am so happy they are keeping that, even if it was probably expensive to film. It was an incredibly fun action sequence in the books, and I really hope that the show keeps the ridiculous resolution to that fight. We also see the skeleton warriors, and once again, I'm just happy that we get this. Next, we get a shot of who is probably Atlas, and it's kind of not important, but I just want to comment that I adore the angle of this shot, because imagine if this shot was filmed with the camera in the eye level or camera standing straight, like this shot wouldn't have like even half of the aura that it has right now. I know it's a small thing, but small decisions like these can make a great difference in the final product. After another couple of shots of Annabeth and Percy at the dance, we get the scene of Percy talking to Aphrodite. I've seen so many people disappointed about the casting of Aphrodite, and I am disappointed in the people who are disappointed. I really doubt that they will do the whole flickering thing where Aphrodite looks like many different people at the same time, because it would be really difficult to portray in a show. But speaking of external beauty alone, it's just a matter of taste. For example, for me personally, I think that this actress is absolutely gorgeous, but at the end of the day, that's also just my personal opinion. Let's not reduce Aphrodite's character to just her external looks. And I actually want to take a step back and talk about Rick Riordan's book in general. I absolutely love Percy Jackson books, but they are not perfect. For example, it was really disappointing how Rick portrayed some of the goddesses. For example, how he said that the children of Aphrodite or Demeter are really weak. Or for example, how the Hunters, they, instead of just forsaking love, it was emphasized how they specifically swear off guys, which is a very narrow view. And one thing I love about Rick as an author is that he clearly learns from his past mistakes and tries to improve his future works. So, for example, in Heroes of Olympus, we meet Piper, who is a very powerful daughter of Aphrodite, or in Trials of Apollo, we meet a couple, a lesbian couple, who are former hunters. So I really love how it's obvious that Rick sees his own flaws and tries to fix them, and now the show is also probably doing the same. So let's go back to Aphrodite. I feel like focusing on her external looks alone, like many fans seem to do, is the same as comparing how Aphrodite was written in Percy Jackson series compared to Heroes of Olympus. Aphrodite is the goddess of love, and that's what is the most important thing in this series, and this is what the show is focusing on. Love is a very powerful force. We do most of the things that we do because of love. For example, me right here, right now, I'm sitting alone talking to a camera because I love Percy Jackson series. So yeah, love is powerful, but it's also, playful, mischievous. You never know what might happen, and I think that this actress who plays Aphrodite encapsulates that perfectly. And even if we go back to external beauty, one thing that is universally attractive is confidence, and Aphrodite in this show definitely seems confident. I also absolutely adore the costume choice. This red leather jacket. It seems like it's a nod to the fact that Aphrodite is dating Ares, but I think it also reflects how, as the times change, how our fashion sense also changes. Sure, having Aphrodite wear a dress, it would have been nice, it would have been beautiful, but it would have also been very predictable and bland, and I think that a leather jacket reflects the modern sense of fashion and beauty much more accurately. I also love how many pearls you can see in the design of the car, which is just perfect for Aphrodite without being too in your face. But moving on, we get a shot of Annabeth in her regular clothes, and honestly, I have no idea when this might be happening. I know that in San Diego Comic Con they showed the first few minutes of season 3, so I think this shot might be from that opening scene. Next, we get a glimpse of the Manticore, and I think it looks properly terrifying. I also want to highlight that when Annabeth jumps on the Manticore, in the background we can see a couple of cannons, which is a perfect set design choice because Westover Hall is supposed to be a military school. I love the shot when Annabeth falls down the cliff. I love this red lighting, and I love how you can see Artemis slowly and calmly walking down in the middle because she really gives off this goddess vibes, even if we didn't get a single other shot of her from this trailer. It's also funny to me how they show Percy's face after Annabeth was taken, and the voiceover says he didn't want her, he wanted me, which is just wrong because he wanted Nico and Bianca and not you, Percy. But I understand, you are the main character, so you have that main character syndrome. Next, we see the two statues of Zeus that saved our guys after Thalia prayed to her father, and I am shocked, honestly shocked, that they are keeping this. It's no secret that I loved the change they made at the end of season 2, how Zeus punished Thalia instead of saving her, but I thought that that change would mean that we wouldn't get this scene, but honestly, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense to keep this. Let's not forget that this scene where Zeus helps Thalia happens before that scene of Thalia's moment of hesitation, moment of wavering, where it seems, genuinely seems, that she actually might kill Bessie to get that power. Now, the creators of this show have to be really delicate, really careful with this scene, but I have a suspicion that it might actually become one of the most powerful scenes of this season. We have Thalia who hates her father because he punished her for simply existing, and in this scene she has to pray to this man. She has to humiliate herself because he is in a position of power. So then later, when Thalia is presented this choice to switch the position so that she would be in the position of power, it makes total sense that she would be tempted. So yeah, as you can see, I have pretty high expectations for this season. But moving on, next we see a very interesting scene of Percy underwater picking up Annabeth's dagger. So in the books, Annabeth did not lose her dagger, and instead it was the hat, but in the show it's Luke who currently has the hat, so it makes sense to replace one object with another. It also feels like a nod to Heroes of Olympus, where Annabeth threw her dagger into water on purpose to give Percy a signal that she needed a little bit of help. But most importantly, I love that the show is focusing on Annabeth's dagger more than the books did, because let's not forget that this dagger is the cursed blade from the Great Prophecy. So if we get to season 5, I think this can become a really cool reveal, how we keep thinking that it's either Riptide or Backbiter, but it turns out to be this dagger, and when we look back, we understand that the answer was there the whole time. Next, we see this interesting shot of a confrontation between Thalia and Ares, which did not happen in the books, and I have no good guesses. It looks like it's most likely happening at the camp, however, I think it could also be happening in the same scene as Aphrodite. So Percy is talking to Aphrodite inside the car, while Thalia and Ares have their confrontation outside the car. Next, we get a shot of the junkyard collapsing, and I absolutely love how it looks, but even more importantly, that shot cuts to Nico, and the people who put together this trailer definitely knew what they were doing. We see a couple of shots from the fight in the museum, and then we also get a shot of Thalia, and that's another shot that I think is taken from that first few minutes that were already shown. Next, we see a shot of Percy and Zoe talking, and that's actually another relationship that I am really excited to see this season. I am praying to every god except Zeus that they keep the part about Riptide being a gift from Zoe to Hercules, and how Zoe at the end says that Percy deserves that sword and that he can keep it. After that, we get a glimpse of Bessie, and do I even need to say anything? Next, we see a shot of Bianca and Nico hugging, and this is actually another big topic that I want to discuss. So we already knew that the show was changing some things and that Nico, instead of staying at the camp, actually goes after his sister on the quest. We can also see that in the early stages of the quest, Bianca is actually wearing a Camp Half-Blood shirt, and it isn't until this point in the trailer where she actually gets the hunter jacket. And I absolutely adore these changes. I think they will make us care about Bianca and Nico so much more, and it will also make Bianca's death so much more impactful. In the books, Bianca's choice to join the Hunters kind of meant nothing. She was just this character we met 5 seconds ago, so why should we as readers care whether she chooses the camp or the Hunters? But if we get to know her character over the course of a couple of episodes, then her eventual choice to join the Hunters and leave Nico will actually be impactful. And if Bianca and Nico get to have this proper goodbye before Nico is taken back to camp and our guys continue on their quest, then Bianca's death will be bad, and Nico's eventual crash out at the end of the season will also feel more impactful. Basically, the only changes to the season that I'm seeing so far make absolute sense and, in my eyes, only improve the story and not take away from it. Next, we see Grover playing on his panpipes, and if I had to guess, I think that the show will probably cut the boar scene, but one thing they absolutely cannot cut is the signal from Pan. So I think this scene happens somewhere around that time. Next, we see a very cool shot of Percy sliding on the water and just throwing his sword, and I think that's also probably taken from those few first minutes of episode 1. Next, we get a quick glimpse of Thorn beginning to transform into the Manticore, and after that we see Annabeth. It looks like she's in the temple ruins, so it probably takes place before the scene where she takes the sky from Luke. We see a couple more shots of Percy running before we get to the food fight in the damn snack bar, and I'm just so happy seeing this. That's it. Next, we see the fight between Thalia and Percy, and once again, it seems that they are removing Capture the Flag, so this fight and Oracle appearing will happen near the cabins. Also, I can't wait to see this scene because it was so powerful in the books. It was the first time that we actually got to see how scary these demigods can be. Next, we get an insanely badass shot of Percy approaching Talos, and it's just perfect. I was worried that the show would have to make Talos smaller, but he actually looks absolutely colossal, and I am so impressed by what I see in this trailer. It's also fun how it's probably the first time when we see the full process of Riptide appearing. So we see Percy actually uncap the pen, and we see the sword form out of nothing. But the most interesting thing in this part of the trailer is actually the voiceover, where it's Annabeth repeating that line from season 2, how if it came down to me or Olympus, he'd burn it to the ground. This is so interesting, and if I had to guess, then I think this is something she's saying to Luke. For the majority of the series, Percy and Luke are kind of the opposites of each other. As we can see, Percy is willing to burn Olympus to the ground to save his family and friends, while Luke is the opposite and he is willing to betray his family and friends for the mission. So I think that we might see Annabeth tell Luke, hey, you promised that we are family. You promised that we take care of our own. And maybe she gives Percy as an example that Percy would not choose the mission over her. And this scene might come back nicely at the end of series if we get season 5, where Luke switches sides and actually chooses his family over his mission. I also have to talk about how absolutely ironic is the ending of the trailer, where Thalia asks Grover if this is how quests normally go, and Grover replies, yeah, pretty much, after we are shown more scenes from the junkyard, because no, this is not how quests normally go. Usually we get a happy ending, or at least as happy as we can get as demigods, but this time we will lose 2 people and make a new, or at least think that we made a new enemy in Nico. I also have to comment on the song choice for season 3. In season 1 we had Riptide, in season 2 we had Come Sail Away, and now in season 3 we get Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and it's just perfect, and I actually can't wait to see what songs they will use for season 4 and season 5 if we get them. So overall, I think this was a great trailer and I am absolutely excited for season 3. I am also happy that they didn't just straight up reveal the whole premise of the season, unlike how they did with season 2 trailer. And sure, it's only the first trailer and we'll probably get more, so there's still a chance that they will spoil the whole premise in one of the future trailers, but if we look at this trailer alone, then I think that it's perfect. So if you're still here, then let me know in the comments what you thought about this trailer, and if you are as excited as I am for season 3 and the very first adaptation of the Titan's Curse ever. But for now, I think that's all I have to say, so bye bye.